It was a regular Tuesday afternoon in downtown Los Angeles. The sun shone fiercely overhead, casting long shadows across the streets as the city buzzed with midweek momentum. At Silhouette, a luxury boutique known for its exclusivity and curated fashion pieces, the staff moved with well-practiced elegance. The store catered to celebrities, stylists, and the city's elite, but only when they played by the unwritten rules of image and presentation. Rita, the assistant manager, stood behind the cash wrap adjusting her gold-rimmed glasses. She was meticulous about appearances, both hers and others. That day, she wore a beige designer pantsuit, her hair slicked into a tight bun, eyes sharply scanning everyone who entered. The door chimed softly at 2:46 p.m. A man entered, tall, broad-shouldered, wearing oversized gray sweatpants, a faded hoodie, and a pair of slightly scuffed sneakers. A black face mask covered half his face, and a beanie sat low on his head. He walked with confidence but no rush, his posture relaxed. Rita looked up, furrowing her brow. Rita, under her breath. Another one of those casual ballers thinking sweatpants count as fashion. She stepped around the counter, arms crossed. As he approached the racks, her tone shifted to condescension. "Rita, can I help you? Find something?" The man didn't seem fazed. He simply nodded. "Man, just browsing, thanks." She watched him sift through a rack of jackets, specifically looking at the $4,000 Balmain pieces, her eyes narrowing further. "Rita, you might be more comfortable in our outlet section, it's across town." He paused, looked at her. His eyes betrayed amusement but also disappointment. "Man, is that your way of saying I don't belong here?" "Rita, I'm saying this store has a certain clientele. Maybe you're looking for something more in your price range." A few customers glanced over, sensing tension. The man didn't argue. He looked around the store one more time, then turned and walked toward the exit. Just as he reached the door, another figure stepped inside, a man in a sharp navy suit with a designer briefcase accompanied by a young intern with a clipboard. He stopped in his tracks when he saw the man leaving. Store owner, smiling wide. "LeBron, man, what a surprise." Rita froze. Customers murmured. The room went still. The man slowly turned around and removed his mask and beanie. There was no doubt. It was LeBron James. The room fell into a vacuum of silence. The realization hung in the air like static, unspoken, yet electrifying. Rita's jaw slackened, her arms dropping awkwardly to her sides. She had just dismissed LeBron James. The store owner, Charles Donovan, strode forward with an energy that filled the space. In his late 40s, Charles was known for his charisma and acute business instincts. He wasn't just a man who owned a store, he was a curator of influence, and today he realized he'd nearly lost one of his most valuable connections. Charles, laughing, warm. "I can't believe this, what are you doing here, man?" LeBron extended his hand, relaxed but gracious. "LeBron, just trying to find something different. Didn't expect the red carpet to be this rolled up." Charles's smile faltered as he glanced toward Rita. Her face was pale. Charles, to LeBron, "We are so glad you came by. Please come in, take your time. Anything you need, just say the word." LeBron's gaze didn't shift from Rita, whose eyes were now darting between him and her boss. LeBron, calm. "She told me the outlet store might be more my vibe." Charles's expression tightened. He turned to Rita. "Charles," low, firm. "Rita, my office now." There was no room for negotiation in his voice. Rita nodded, walking stiffly toward the back office, each step echoing shame. LeBron, still poised, glanced around at the watching customers and staff. The dynamics of the room had flipped entirely, curiosity now replaced with admiration, confusion with discomfort. One of the stylists, a young man named Evan, approached cautiously. "Evan, Mr. James, if there's anything you'd like to look at, I'd be honored to help you." LeBron nodded, appreciative but measured. "LeBron, let's see what you've got." As they began browsing, the tension remained like a scent that refused to dissipate. Even the customers seemed to shop more quietly, glancing over their shoulders. The store wasn't just witnessing an uncomfortable situation, it was undergoing a reckoning. In the office, behind a glass wall, Charles was speaking to Rita in hushed, sharp tones. She looked defensive, then remorseful. Eventually, her posture slumped into a silent acceptance. Meanwhile, LeBron moved through the store with Evan, pausing now and then to inspect pieces with a critical but thoughtful eye. He wasn't rushing. He was making a point without ever raising his voice. By the time he reached the register, he had chosen 3 jackets and a limited edition pair of boots. LeBron to Evan, "You handled that well, appreciate the respect." Evan, "Thank you, sir, really. Thank you." LeBron paid in full, nodded to the staff and walked toward the door. Just before leaving, he glanced back once at the office door, then pushed open the glass and disappeared into the LA sunlight. Rita sat in the office chair like it was a witness stand. Across from her, Charles Donovan leaned forward, elbows on the desk, hands clasped, eyes sharp and unreadable. "Charles, explain to me what just happened, slowly." Rita swallowed, her throat dry. "Rita, he came in looking unkempt, no appointment, no stylist. We get people like that all the time, trying to loiter, sometimes even steal." Charles, cold, "So you profiled him?" Rita, "I didn't know it was LeBron, I just thought..." Charles, "You thought his appearance disqualified him from being taken seriously in this store." Rita opened her mouth, then closed it again. Charles, "This store thrives on image, yes, but not just the image we present to customers. It's the one we reflect back. If we treat people based on assumptions, we become exactly what they accuse luxury retail of being: elitist, blind, fake." His voice was still calm, but each word cut with precision. Rita, quietly, "I made a mistake." Charles, "No, you exposed your values. That's worse." The weight of his words settled between them like lead. Outside the glass walls, the store hummed softly, but inside the office there was only stillness. Charles, "We're not just selling clothes. We're in the business of identity, empowerment, confidence. That means treating everyone with dignity, even if they walk in wearing a trash bag." Rita looked up, shame radiating from her posture. Charles, "You've been good at logistics, reliable, efficient. But this," he sighed. Charles, "I'm putting you on administrative leave. You'll attend our equity and hospitality training session starting tomorrow. If you want to stay here, you'll rebuild your place from the ground up." Rita didn't argue. She nodded slowly, the facade of self-assurance now completely gone. As she exited the office, her co-workers avoided eye contact. Evan offered a brief, neutral nod. She took her things and walked out of the store, not with indignation, but introspection. That evening, Charles called a team meeting after closing. Staff gathered around, tired but curious. Charles, to the team, "We got lucky today. A lesson came through our door wearing a hoodie and sweatpants. Some of us failed it, some of us passed. But all of us need to understand something. Every customer, every person deserves respect. Period." Silence followed, and then slowly, heads nodded. Charles, "Let this be the last time we're caught seeing only what's on the surface." The team dispersed quietly, the air thick with thought. A lesson had indeed arrived. And now, the real test would be what they did with it. Rita sat alone in her small apartment that evening, a half-eaten salad on the table and her laptop open to an empty document titled Equity Training Journal. The city outside buzzed with nightlife, but inside everything was still. She had played the incident over in her head a dozen times. LeBron's calm demeanor, Charles's disappointment, her own voice, sharper, more dismissive than she remembered. For someone who prided herself on emotional intelligence, it was a jarring realization. Her reflexes were rooted in prejudice. She wasn't a bad person, at least she didn't think she was. But now she had proof that even good intentions can blind themselves in habits. That night, for the first time in years, she cried. Not from shame alone, but from the clarity that comes with seeing yourself too honestly. Meanwhile, at a small sneaker store on Melrose, LeBron sat with his longtime friend Maverick Carter. They weren't talking about basketball or endorsements, they were talking about what had happened at Silhouette. Maverick, you didn't call her out publicly, that was generous. LeBron, that's not how people grow. Embarrassment just makes people dig in. I wanted her to feel it, not fight it. Maverick, you think she will? LeBron sipped his tea, thoughtful. LeBron, she looked like she'd been holding that version of herself together for too long. People like that, when they break, they don't always rebuild the same. Back at Silhouette, Evan stayed late to re-merchandise the jackets LeBron had browsed. He was younger, still new to the world of high-end retail, but the encounter had moved him. Not because LeBron James had come through their doors, but because humility had. He scribbled a note and taped it to the staff bulletin board. You never know who you're serving, so always serve with heart. The next morning, Charles found the note. He didn't remove it. Across town, Rita woke early and opened her laptop. Again. This time, she started typing. Day 1. I judged someone who had already outgrown judgment, and in doing so, I limited myself more than I ever limited him. It was Rita's first day at the Equity and Hospitality Training Center, an airy, co-working space downtown, filled with social workers, hospitality professionals, and retail employees from across the city. She felt out of place among people who introduced themselves with stories of resilience, community work, and second chances. No one asked what had brought her there, and she didn't offer. The workshop leader, a soft-spoken woman named Carla, welcomed everyone with a simple prompt. Carla, think of a moment when you made someone feel invisible. Write it down, don't explain it, don't justify it, just face it. Rita gripped her pen. Her hand trembled slightly as she wrote. I told a man in sweatpants he didn't belong. It was LeBron James. She didn't share it aloud, but the act of writing it made something shift inside. That moment, those words, no longer had control over her. They were part of her, yes, but no longer defining her. At the same time, back at Silhouette, Charles was implementing changes of his own. He'd started a new onboarding session called Beyond the Surface. Evan was asked to co-lead, and though nervous, he accepted. His first presentation began with an image of a man in streetwear, face obscured. Evan, to the new hires. Would you offer this man a fitting room or send him to the outlet? That's your test. And trust me, it's not about clothes. The store began to shift in subtle ways. Staff spoke with more intention. The seating near the entrance became more welcoming. A new signage campaign was developed. Style has no dress code. Meanwhile, Rita began volunteering 2 days a week at a local nonprofit that helped formerly incarcerated women re-enter the workforce. She didn't talk much about her job at the boutique. Instead, she listened. Every time a woman spoke about being judged by her past or her appearance, Rita saw echoes of herself. One day, a woman named Danielle told her, Danielle, people look at me and see tattoos, see records. They don't see the mother, the survivor. Rita nodded quietly. Rita, sometimes it's easier to label people. It's harder to actually see them. Danielle smiled. Danielle, but if you do see them, that's where it starts. And in that moment, Rita knew. Her transformation wasn't about redeeming herself in Charles's eyes, or even facing LeBron again. It was about the kind of woman she could now choose to become. Weeks passed. Rita completed her training, continued volunteering, and kept a low profile. She hadn't returned to Silhouette yet, not officially, but something about the space had changed in her absence. Word of her story had circulated discreetly, reshaped by Charles not as gossip, but as a case study in humility and course correction. One morning, Charles called her. Charles, we're hosting a private panel next week, Conscious Retail, Style and Substance. I want you there, not as staff, on the panel. Rita hesitated. Rita, me? Why? Charles, because you've been through the storm, and now you have something to say. When the day came, the store was transformed. Chairs arranged in a semicircle, cameras discreetly placed. An audience of stylists, designers, and retail leaders filled the space. LeBron wasn't scheduled to attend, but his name came up more than once, as a symbol, a catalyst. Rita took her seat beside Charles and two other panelists, a community activist and a fashion editor. Her palms were damp, but she kept her back straight. When it was her turn to speak, she paused for a full 5 seconds. Rita, I thought retail was about controlling the image, but what I've learned is that it's really about seeing the person behind it. She didn't mention LeBron by name, she didn't have to. Rita, we're not just gatekeepers to clothes, we're gatekeepers to dignity. And when we forget that, especially in luxury, we lose more than customers. We lose credibility. The room was quiet, then filled with thoughtful nods, even a few quiet wows. After the panel, a young intern approached her, nervous, notebook in hand. Intern, that was powerful. How did you know what to say? Rita, softly. Because I've been the one who didn't know what to say. And I decided next time, I'd do better. Later that night, she received a short message from an unknown number. The message simply read, I heard about the panel, proud of you. LJ. Rita didn't reply. She didn't need to. She placed her phone on the table, exhaled, and smiled. A month after the panel, the impact of Rita's story began to manifest beyond the store walls. Silhouette's social media campaign, Style Has No Dress Code, gained unexpected traction. Celebrities, influencers, and everyday customers began sharing their own experiences with judgment, both subtle and overt, in fashion spaces. Charles received a call from a regional luxury consortium. They wanted Silhouette to host a citywide workshop on ethical retail. For a store once whispered about as exclusive and rigid, this was a turning point. But behind the scenes, the person most quietly influencing this shift wasn't Charles or a PR firm. It was Evan. The young stylist, inspired by Rita's growth, had begun mentoring new hires with compassion and mindfulness. He created a new onboarding guide that included situational empathy scenarios, including one based loosely on LeBron's visit. He never used names. He didn't need to. Evan, to a trainee. Fashion doesn't elevate people. People elevate fashion. Don't ever forget that. Meanwhile, Rita had returned to work part-time, not because she needed to, but because she wanted to. Her official title was changed to Customer Experience Consultant, but internally she was known as the heart of the store. On her first day back, she was standing near the entrance adjusting a display when a woman hesitantly walked in. Casual clothes, slightly nervous energy. Customer, I wasn't sure if this place was for me. Rita smiled and stepped forward. Rita, if you walked through that door, then it's exactly for you. Later that evening, while reorganizing the back room, Rita found a note folded in a drawer, left there by Evan. Thanks for falling and standing up where we could all see. We're better now because of it. That night, Rita walked home under soft city lights. No headlines, no cameras. Just the quiet knowledge that her failure had grown into something purposeful. Reshape systems and how leadership can come from the most unexpected falls. By spring, Rita's world looked entirely different. Not because of a promotion or public recognition, but because she had changed the narrative of her own story. Her work at the nonprofit deepened. She wasn't just volunteering now, she'd been invited to help lead a workshop series. First impressions, second chances. The women attending came from a range of experiences: incarceration, addiction, recovery, homelessness. And they listened to Rita not because she had all the answers, but because she spoke from where they were standing. One afternoon, a woman named Ayana, soft-spoken with intense eyes, stayed after class. Ayana, I don't get it. How do you walk into those stores now without flinching? Rita, smiling. Because I remind myself that they're just places. People give them meaning, and now I bring mine. That same week, Silhouette announced a collaboration with a local design school. The goal: co-create a capsule collection inspired by accessibility and luxury. Rita was invited to help curate the final selections. Charles, we're not just changing how we serve, we're changing what we make. Rita found herself sketching again, something she hadn't done since college. Late at night, between volunteer shifts and in-store consultations, she filled notebooks with designs, flowing coats, streetwear blends, and suits with functional elegance, all inspired by the people she now saw clearly, herself included. She submitted one of her sketches anonymously. When the final 10 designs were selected, hers made the list. Evan recognized the signature on the lining immediately. Evan, grinning, "You're sneaky." Rita, half laughing, didn't want pity votes, just wanted the piece to speak. And it did. The piece, a long, gender-neutral coat in earthy tones, was called The Door. When asked why she named it that, Rita simply said, "Rita, because everyone deserves to walk through one without being questioned." It was a Friday afternoon when the call came through. Charles answered, and after a brief exchange, turned to Evan and said, "Charles, he's coming back." Evan blinked. Evan, who? Charles, LeBron. It wasn't for press. There were no cameras, just a quiet return, intentional, respectful. When LeBron stepped into Silhouette for the second time, it wasn't with the subtle disguise he wore months earlier. He walked in wearing his own brand's hoodie, jeans, and a soft confidence that made the space feel less like a luxury boutique and more like a shared room. Rita wasn't in that day. She was across town finalizing sketches with the design students, but Evan texted her immediately. "Evan, he's here, and he asked about you." LeBron browsed with ease, greeting staff with familiar nods. When he reached the display featuring The Door, he paused. The coat stood elegantly on a custom mannequin, its label quietly bearing the phrase, "Designed by R. Mendez." LeBron, she really did it. Evan stepped beside him. Evan, she changed the place without asking for credit. LeBron nodded, thoughtful. LeBron, that's how you know it's real. He didn't stay long. He didn't make a scene. At the register, he purchased the door coat and left with a simple LeBron to Charles. "Keep letting the right ones in." Later that day, Rita returned. She didn't expect anything, just another shift. But when she passed the display, she noticed something missing. "Rita, where's the coat?" Evan smiled. "Evan, gone to someone who knows how to walk through doors." She paused, absorbing the weight of what that meant, not as validation, but as full circle clarity. Her journey wasn't about redemption anymore. It was about design, of spaces, experiences, and now garments that made others feel seen. 6 months later, Silhouette looked different, not just in its layout or its clientele, but in its energy. There was a sense of welcome now. The staff didn't rush to judge or to impress. They listened, they adjusted. Customers lingered, conversations deepened. Rita had taken on a new role, Director of Community and Culture. It wasn't a title she sought, but one she earned through the way she moved through the world. Her name was still on the roster, but more often her impact was felt outside the store. She led workshops, advised designers, mentored staff across the city. And every now and then, she'd sit quietly near the entrance, greeting customers like a host welcoming someone into her home. One afternoon, a young girl came in with her mother. The girl wore a thrifted jacket with patches she'd sewn on herself. "Girl," to her mom, "I want to make clothes one day, but like, for everyone." Rita knelt beside her. "Rita, you already are." The girl smiled, eyes bright, unaware of the woman's journey, but Rita didn't need her to know. That was the point. In the back office, Charles had hung a photograph, black and white, candid. It showed the store's entrance the day LeBron first walked in, hoodie and all, mid-step. Under it, a plaque read, "The day we learned what luxury really means." That evening, as the sun dipped low over Los Angeles, Rita closed the store, She turned off the lights, set the alarm, and stepped onto the sidewalk with nothing in her hands but her phone and keys. She didn't look back. She didn't need to, because what she carried now was within her,